Welcome to the first of, hopefully many, Saturday Speedpaints. These are kind of weekly compilations of a bunch of my recent artwork and the speed paints thereof. Please be warned, photosensitive viewers, take care when watching. I use a lot of blending layers, and that tends to make it flash a whole bunch in the speed paints themselves. So be careful, take care, all those things. Don't want to have a seizure. Seizures are bad. Some of these might later include, special guests, lots of me rambling about just whatever, and, a bunch of other fun stuff like that. This particular piece, that being shown right here, was from a, art exchange that I was doing with one of my friends, this Valentine's Day. God, I always forget that Valentine's Day takes place in February. It's wild. But yes, this February, where I did a platonic Valentine's Day art exchange. This next one coming up is one that I'm quite happy with the result of, honestly, although I think that perhaps I could have done a bit better at just choosing my colors in the first place. You'll see what I mean when you get there. Lots of cats, as you'll notice in the, various art pieces shown. Lots and lots of cats. This particular kitty is named Foxfang, and she is an anarchist. She's basically like my cat, honestly, with the whole, no, there's no such thing as governance. You cannot govern a cat. However, Foxfang has ended up in a position of leadership. Somehow. She's just as surprised as you are. And, a lot of what she's doing is running around, being a little bit dumb, in the way that cats are, making bad decisions, as a cat would. As you can see right here, I'm going through a bunch of different blending layers to try and get a certain feel. Not really succeeding, but, seeing as I go. I use this really nice brush set for a lot of my very nature-y backgrounds, and you'll see it here. I kind of wish I hadn't done the blue, honestly, in retrospect. Oh, yep, and kind of changing at the end there to more sunset-y colors, I suppose. Oh, this is a fun one. And additionally, the art for that, for Russet Strike, all of that is, by Beans. I don't know their actual, social media stuff, but it will show up on screen once I actually do remember it. And the character belongs to Vincier, whose stuff I will also put up once I find it. But yeah, Honeybriar is mine. He's a character from a art role-playing group that I've joined. And he's just a hopeless romantic little kitty. He's trying his best, and being a simp. As one is, Fun times. He is very enthused by the whole idea of love and soulmates and all of those fun things. Stuff I don't super get, but which he does quite well. Just kind of a flirt, a jokester, not very good at taking things seriously. That kind of character. Meanwhile, Russet Strike is giant and very good. She is good and she is round, and we love that for her, honestly. Honeybriar is also deeply enamored with her. As we'll see here, trying out different background things, just kind of sketching stuff in at random, because, sketching out backgrounds. Don't know about you, but, backgrounds are in fact my bane. Theoretically, I should be able to, make good composition, but then I'm but what if I take the lazy way out instead? And, well, I certainly did that on this one, I'm afraid. I am kind of happy with just the layering of the hills in the background, though, but it's definitely not my favorite piece that I've done. It's for a raffle entry in the group, so I kind of need to get it done quickly. Oh, and through here is a bunch of flashing lights. Do take care. There he is. Oh, and here's Turtletail. Totally anxious lad. He's trying his best. He's trying his best, and you know, sometimes that's all a lad can do. I am very pleased with how this piece turns out, though. Like, the line weight is really nice, I think. You know, as you'll see, I go through and do a little bit of shading, all sorts of fun stuff. I'm actually working on another piece using a lot of line weight and varied, you know, line weight, shading styles, all that fun stuff, but I'm nowhere near done with that one yet. Group pictures take a lot more time. Like, whole groups of characters? Goodness. As you can see, I kind of go finicky with all of the shading, but when it comes time for the, you know, the background, I kind of cop out. But, you know, I think it turned out, like, surprisingly good for something where I just really didn't feel like doing a background at all. As you'll see here, I went through a couple of versions of that, like, sun, moon, who the heck knows? I mean, I think it's the sun? I don't know either. It formed kind of a halo around his head, largely inspired by the game Disco Elysium, because one of their character portraits there has just a really cool light halo around his head. Oh, and here's more Turtletail. But yeah, oh my goodness, Disco Elysium has amazing art. At one point I really want to try out something in that painterly style, with like the rough edges and all of that. It's definitely something on my to-do list. But, yeah, here's just a little chibi Turtletail. Just a little lad, standing in the forest. I also found that I really didn't want to do proper backgrounds on this one. You'll find quite often that I don't want to do proper backgrounds. Backgrounds are kind of my bane. Like, I think I do them nicely enough, but they're just not really a thing that I enjoy doing. Oh, this next one is... I'd say this next one is fun. It's kind of the visual style, or at least attempting the visual style of certain visual novels. With the little character portrait here for Ravensight. My tiny little lad. He's the size of a kitten. And also collects skeletons and bones. You know, normal stuff. He's having a grand old time. This is another one, as you'll see is a running theme with a lot of these this week, is I just really didn't feel like doing a nice background that I put a bunch of thought into. It was just kind of like, I draw rocks, I guess. I like drawing rocks. Rocks are really easy to cheat your perspective with, in a way that, like, trees and other, like, more organic shapes are difficult. You'll see here I go through a bunch of different things, all the different things. Little moon up there. Yeah, the little outline. Briefly inverted colors, because, you know, sometimes that's how it goes. This right here, speaking of visual novels and that whole style, I'm currently working on at least a concept for one, and going through here is kind of my attempts at designing the main character and getting a handle on his personality and such like. This is January H. Fletcher, a detective who takes on only the strangest of cases, and, well, they are pretty strange. He's going to be the protagonist of a kind of eldritch horror visual novel that I'm setting up right now, with a lot of stat building, investigations, and a very huge emphasis on choice and where those choices can take you. 'Cause, you know, who doesn't love a good choose-your-own-adventure story? As you'll see later on, when I actually do kind of settle on what I want to do with his whole look, with his greatcoat and all that, it's, I do render it a lot more than I normally render my drawings. I tend to go very simple, cartoony style for a lot of my coloring and stuff, just very basic flat colors. Nothing really beyond that, just cause, well, I don't have patience. Bold of you to assume I do. But, yes, January is this kind of paranormal detective with a special affinity for, the supernatural things of the world, so much so that he can kind of talk to the ghosts of objects, and is very easily possessed. He comes to this tiny, strange town, and, he's been tasked with finding a dead man's eyes, and he's like, well, I don't know what that means at all, but this sounds like a really interesting case. As you may find out in the following weeks, I really love eccentric detective characters. It's kind of a... what's the word? I don't remember quite what word I was looking for, but, it's a favorite character archetype of mine. Just love when characters are a little bit strange. Those of you who, have played Disco Elysium, which I've mentioned earlier, know that, Disco Elysium features a very eccentric detective. In fact, a absolute disaster of a man. Not to do too many spoilers for that game, but I definitely recommend it. I've also been playing Strange Horticulture, which is just a lovely kind of horror game, but you run like a little plant shop. And the game is all about, identifying different plants and handing them over to your customers and following various weird clues you find in the night, to try and unweave all these mysteries going on. There's a lot of fun mystery-themed stuff out there. I love me some Eldritch mystery. Just general mystery, too. It's a good genre, one that I'm only recently exploring as far as the mystery aspect, but alas, I'm afraid we're out of time. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you watched all the way through. That's very kind of you. If you enjoyed this and, would like to keep up with my future,